Dum da da dum da 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 dum.
Drink a beer, everybody!
Hey everyone, Dr. Tangent here. Back with another beer short. Now, you may hear some people describe beers and think, wow, they are really pretentious and snobby. Not me, of course. You'd never think that about me. But I think it's time to talk a little bit about the beer analyzing process. What beer critics, beer judges do to describe a beer, because that's really all it's about. When we're evaluating a beer, I am looking at four basic things, and they're all sensory. Um, I want to look at the aroma of the beer. You'll notice before I ever drink a beer, I smell it, looking to experience the aroma of the beer and describe that to myself and to you guys. I'm looking at the appearance of the beer. You'll see when I pour in one of my videos, I'm showing you what it looks like when I'm pouring. When it pours, does it have a big, thick, creamy head, or is it a thin head? Is it really highly carbonated and you see a ton of bubbles and in action in there, or is it lower carbonated beer? And are any of those things appropriate for the type of beer that it is? Looking at the color of the beer, looking at the clarity of the beer. Is it clear? Can you see my hand through the glass? um, that type of thing. Or is it hazy? Is it opaque? And do we expect those results that we're getting? Then we start looking at the flavor of the beer, what we're tasting when we taste the beer. Lastly, we're also looking at mouth feel, how the beer actually feels inside your mouth. Now, this is one of the more esoteric ones that people generally don't really consider unless they stop to think about it when they're having a beer. You just, you might smell the beer, you definitely taste the beer. Well, I don't want to say definitely, because some of you guys may be drinking like Miller Lite or something like that, in which case it doesn't have a taste. Um, but you taste the beer. People generally don't think about what it feels like when they're drinking it. But things that we look for, how does it feel? Is it creamy, or is it watery? Does it feel very viscous and heavy in the mouth, or is it very light? Is it highly carbonated and you can feel the bubbles, almost like prickly, tingling on your tongue, or is it very still in your mouth, very smooth? Is it even oily feeling in your mouth? Does it, after you swallow, does it feel like a little slickness in your mouth? So those are the things we're looking for, and sometimes you'll hear us use some words that don't necessarily sound like they'd be related to beer. And that makes some of us look snobbish and ostentatious sometimes. But hey, we're just doing what we do. When you're talking about some descriptors that you'll hear when people talk about beer, there are some that are pretty obvious and self-explanatory, and those are the ones usually more associated with aromas and flavors, or even appearance, than they are mouthfeel. Some of the very obvious ones that kind of mean exactly what they say are cereally, um, bread crust, caramel, any of the various fruit flavors. As somebody says, "Oh, I taste tangerine," or "I taste melon," um, it's pretty obvious what they're tasting. Although you may hear some references to things like, "Oh, I'm getting a lot of dark fruits." Oh, what does that mean? Dark fruits are the darker fruits, mostly dried fruits, things like raisins, currants, prunes, dates, figs, plums kind of fall into that category, although they're not dried. Or you might hear somebody refer to light fruits. Light fruits are lighter in flavor and typically lighter in color than dark fruits. Things like banana, pineapple, pear, apple, mango. Or you might hear somebody say something about stone fruits, which the first couple times you hear it might make you think, well, what the hell do they mean? Essentially, they're referencing any of the fruits that have like a pit or a stone in them. Things like cherry, apricot, nectarine, peach. There are, however, some really odd, different things, word descriptors that are used from time to time that might leave the semi-casual beer drinker wondering, did this person just have a stroke? Things like tobacco or leather or something described as earthy, piney, resinous, floral are all not immediately, well, floral, you kind of get, it smells like flowers. Tobacco is an earthy, herbal, sometimes descriptor that is sometimes a good thing to have in a porter or a stout or some strong Belgian ales. Now, when we say tobacco, we're not talking like cigarette smoke. We're talking like fresh tobacco, not like a flavored, not like grape backwoods or white owl. We're talking about fresh, actual, real tobacco. Leather is another one of those. It's a complex aroma and flavor that can be an earthy characteristic that you'll often see in an aged beer. It's usually a subtle, and if you kind of imagine like a big leather couch in a lounge in a cabin in the woods away from everybody and cloistered and secluded, and you walk into that room and you can like smell the leather. That's kind of what we're getting at there. Earthy is another one of those words that you'll hear a fair amount, talking about that scent that you get, that aroma that you get, like from freshly turned damp soil, or sometimes like hay, or even that smell after like a thunderstorm. Piney, resinous is, as you kind of would guess, kind of smells like pine trees or tastes like pine tree smell, if that makes any sense. There you have it. There's some of the things, some of the words you might hear that just don't make sense sometimes. But if there are any others that you hear, whether from me or somebody else, that you're wondering what the hell do they mean, uh, leave me a comment. Let me know. I will answer it in a future video. Thanks a lot. Talk to you later.